in to another episode of the Face Mask Podcast. I am Nick Payne. With me is John Alsace. John, it is time to kick off Week 4.
I mean, it's a game I'm mildly excited for.
I mean, the fact that the season is rolling along, I'll take it. But yes, we are not exactly kicking off with a barn burner. After Monday night's on paper thrilling matchup between the Chiefs and the Ravens, football fans and fantasy fans around the world are now treated to the Denver Broncos visiting the New York Jets.
And the Broncos might be the most injured overall team in the NFL.
There's a lot of injuries. The Broncos have a lot.
If
the
Drew
Jets
Lock
have a lot.
and Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and everybody was there and everybody on defense was healthy and I'd be maybe a little bit more excited about this, but no.
Right. At least a little bit more interested in the Broncos. The Jets we know are a train wreck. John, is Adam Gase, is he fighting for his job or is he not? I don't trust this Jets team to make the right decision.
I mean, the rumors have been growing for so long, and I can't help but think that, through osmosis or something, they these thoughts just kind of sink in to the organization over time. I mean,
they have to wake up at some point, right?
Yeah, he's horrible. Nobody likes him. And he doesn't produce on the field. If nobody liked Vince Lombardi.
But
he was an asshole.
Right, but that's fine.
But he won.
Right, so you deal with it.
Adam Gase has done nothing but lose, and he's lost everywhere he's gone, and everywhere he's gone, he's made the team worse, and they've took a long time to recover. I mean, look, Miami's still in a rebuild because of him.
He casts blame.
And the Jets are going to be in the same position.
Yep.
And you look at every skill position player that's ever left his sphere of influence. I mean, we've seen every Miami player kind of pop off since he left. Devontae Parker, Preston Williams. We've seen running backs leave Miami and do amazing things. Kenyon Drake last year.
Right.
Ryan
Tannehill.
Robbie Anderson this year. Robbie Anderson's been crazy this year.
Right,
He's been one of the top 5 wide receivers.
Robbie Anderson's been good. I think the biggest guy is probably Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's playing at a very high level right now for the Tennessee Titans.
Exactly.
That's a team that we will absolutely be getting into a little bit later. But, yeah, I don't know how the Jets can... Look, Denver's not great. They're coming in with a third-string quarterback and, like you said, John, a decimated roster. But do any of us expect them to lose? Would it be a shocking, if either of these teams win? No. But the Jets have looked awful. They look like they don't belong.
I mean, Brett Rippon, he was 8 of 9 last game, and the one incompletion was it wasn't an NFL throw. But I mean, there's a path to him being, a game manager in this game and them coming out with a win.
Sure, lean on Melvin Gordon.
Because Darnold has been seeing ghosts since the game where he said that he's been seeing ghosts. He's been seeing them ever since.
Last year.
It's like the sixth sense.
Against the Patriots.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's been horrible, bro. He's been horrible. And I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
I'm not ready to...
I think he's good.
Well, I'm not... Let's put it this way. I don't know if he's good, but I'm not ready... Like you, I'm not ready to say that he's bad. Because, again,
I think he's being Gased.
Yeah.
He's being Gased.
Right. He's seeing Gastes.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna steal that. A little
too stupid. I mean, this is the problem. This is what Adam Gase does, and you can't So Damian Woody went on Instagram and went on like a video rant, and he said, "You can't give me Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was the GOAT before any working with Adam Gase or whoever. Other than that, it has been slop." The Jets, again, they look like a AAA team for, as far as baseball terms go. They don't look like they belong in the NFL. A lot of that has to do with coaching. So To me, I would say Denver wins tonight from a fantasy perspective. The Jets, they do one thing well. It's stop the run, which in today's NFL, that's pretty much useless if you're not good at anything else. So Melvin Gordon's a little bit of a concern tonight for fantasy, but if your running back situation is stout, you might be able to afford to sit him, but you might want to play him. It's a favorable situation. You have to figure the game's going to be close. He'll be involved. Philip Lindsay is not going to play.
Nope.
Outside,
but he will be playing next week. So this is the last week that I think Melvin Gordon has full workload.
Right. This is the last week Melvin Gordon has full workload. So fire him up. Noah Fant, you're firing him up, even though it's not a great quarterback situation. He will be the clear-cut number one option in the passing game.
Dude, he's a tight end one. Yeah. You start him every week.
You start him every week. He will
with confidence.
He will be the focal point of that Denver offense moving forward. On the Jet side, yeah, it's slim pickings. You're probably not starting Frank Gore. You're probably not. You're not starting Sam Darnold.
You're not starting anybody except for maybe Jamison Crowder if you need to, and he's not healthy in this game.
Right, it's
the
dicey.
Coaching staff has come out and said that he's not healthy yet.
It's dicey.
So it might take him a few weeks to work back into game shape. So I would not be playing him if you have another option.
I mean, if your
options like Jarvis Landry,
if you're,
I think you could drop Jarvis Landry if you're in redraft.
If your options are guys that you were relying on from either the Steelers or the Titans, who are now not going to play this week,
then I guess you might have to rely on a guy like that.
Maybe you have to fire up Jamison Crowder, but honestly, it is a win and a prayer because he's not 100%. He's going in with a hamstring injury. I would not expect a full snap count tonight. You're pretty much, I would say, you are praying for something like a 4 for 40 night, and he comes out unscathed. I think that's what you're hoping for.
He's a heavily targeted wide receiver usually.
Sure.
So I think he's going to get more receptions than you would think, but I think instead of him having like a 13 reception ceiling, 15 reception ceiling that we've seen him, he's going to be more around 8. Which is going to probably put him more in wide receiver 4 territory unless he gets a touchdown. Because he's not a guy, contrary to what he did week 1, that goes off for long runs. He's not, historically.
I can't expect 8 catches tonight. Not with the injury. Not with the
8 targets.
8 targets. Sure. I could see that. But, yeah, this is...
8 targets, 6 catches for 50 yards, and no touchdowns. That's kind of what you're looking at, I think, for him. He's a floor player.
If he gets 6 for 50, I think that's gravy at this point. But again,
if you're in a PPR league, you can play him and get 10 points.
You might
you
might have to because there were the first bomb dropped in the NFL this week, basically, John. And I think this is a good time to talk about what's now going on in the NFL, and we're going to have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here because, again, a bomb dropped. This is the first big issue potentially facing the NFL and the NFL schedule this year.
Yeah, we all knew COVID was going to be an issue and a hot topic coming in, but this is the first test.
Right.
I mean, we have 8 players, 8 not players, 8 people with the Titans organization, players and just people working in the organization who tested positive for COVID. And so they're postponing the Steelers-Titans game. And they're treating this just like another bye. So you won't have players from either of these games playing.
Right. But
I don't even think that's the biggest issue. I really don't even think that's the biggest issue. I think that issue is contained.
So... yeah, the schedule itself is still to be determined. How the bye weeks are going to play out, what the NFL is going to do is still kind of in limbo. The game itself of being rescheduled is still in limbo. Adam Schefter reported a couple of hours ago that Monday is off the table, so we still don't know when
No, it's already been pushed
Or it's
off.
already been. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's already been completely pushed
It's been
off.
completely postponed. That's right.
Yep.
What I'm saying is we
And they
don't
haven't
know.
set a date. They haven't set a date for it.
Right. We don't know what the bye week situation is going to mean for the Titans or the Steelers.
On Yahoo, for what it's worth, they're listed as having a bye on the 4th week and the 8th week.
Right. Which won't hold. They will only have one bye week because the NFL. I don't think the NFL. And maybe this might be their one of their flaws coming into the season. I don't think they built in flexible scheduling with Corona in mind. They didn't. There was never any information about flexible bye weeks, moving teams around, pushing the schedule back if need be to maintain consistency. There's none of that.
They might have had these discussions, but it hasn't been made public at all.
Sure. I feel like they would have made it public.
I find it hard to believe that an organization as big as the NFL hasn't had discussions about this stuff. So they have to have some kind of plan they haven't made public.
They might have a plan.
I can't think
in the
they've
works.
been inept at times, but they can't have been that inept.
Let's put it this way. I don't think right now they have anything finalized.
Agreed.
I don't think they have anything finalized, which feels like you're coming in unprepared, which is unacceptable for the NFL. I think this is going to be a big issue because you just let me know about a situation that happened in Vegas. I'm going to keep doing that. I need to refer to the Raiders are in Vegas, not Oakland. Sorry, Oakland. A situation in Vegas involving Darren Waller, totally separate from the situation with the Titans and I'll say the Vikings. It happened during the Titans-Vikings game is when this or the fallout from that. The Vikings are okay. So far, the reports are no new confirmed cases with the Minnesota Vikings. Their game against the Houston Texans is on as scheduled. They returned to the Minnesota returned to their facilities today after not reporting on Wednesday out of necessity of safety. They returned Thursday. They're good to go, and hopefully it stays that way. The new issue that I feel like is not being talked about enough, John, is what's going on with the Raiders and Darren Waller's charity dinner.
Yeah, he had a charity dinner on Monday, and there were well over 100 people there. And there were more. It was more than just Darren Waller there. We're talking Foster Moreau was there, Derek Carr was there throwing balls into the audience. Of course, Darren Waller was there. Nathan Peterman was there. And those are just the people that have been reported that were there.
Other Raiders players
may not have been more.
Other Raiders players were at the event.
Nobody was wearing masks. The organization has come out and said, and players have come out and said that they've been wearing masks. They wore masks, and there were only a few slip-ups, but that's window dressing. There's a video that came out. I saw 2 masks in a whole sweep of the whole audience during a Derek Carr throw into the audience of a football. Nobody wearing masks. There were 2, and they were hanging by ears. This is bad.
Yeah. This is irresponsible. It goes against every single protocol.
Well over 100 people.
Inside? Like indoors?
With multiple team members. It wasn't just one that they can isolate and just keep away. There's 8 that were reported. Or 5, sorry. 5 that were reported.
And we're only at Thursday.
And this is completely unregulated.
What happens?
Now, it was for a great cause. It was for drug rehabilitation and
damn it.
alcoholism. Great cause.
Sure, but they were irresponsible about putting it together.
I don't know what they were thinking, man.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what anybody in the audience was thinking. I don't know what anybody was thinking.
What happens if a Raider tests positive on Saturday?
I think, the
game is postponed.
They're going to postpone the Bills and the Raiders.
The game is postponed.
I think any hold that you put on Steelers and Titans players, you should also be putting on the Raiders and Bills players that you have. You shouldn't be playing them.
We'll see what happens. There's still time in the week, but this is a serious situation for just from a fantasy perspective. Yes, obviously you need to make a backup plan, but this I hate to say it almost takes a back step from the scope of like the NFL being able to safely, consistently continue the season at the pace that they're going, this jeopardizes all of that.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Now, we don't have any reports yet of any Raiders testing positive, but...
Bro, I think it's a matter of time.
It might only...
With what I saw in the video, I think it's a matter of time.
Right.
And I think everybody should go out and find this video. We'll repost it on our social media. But yeah, man, I honestly think after looking at this whole situation, taking into account the Steelers Titans situation and taking into account this new Las Vegas Raiders situation, I think they should put a pause on the whole NFL and pause it for 2 weeks.
The entire
and
league?
Come up with a plan to address all of it.
I don't think they're going to do that. I don't.
No, they're not.
They would if it got really bad. Like if there were multiple outbreaks on multiple teams, it would take.
There could be two.
Well, there could be. We don't know if there are yet, and that's.
I think it'd be a miracle if there's not.
I agree with you. The problem is nothing has been confirmed yet, and if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL right now is just trying to kind of sweep this under the rug because I
saw film crews. I saw film crews on that video. Hard Knocks was there, was it not?
Well, why would they be there? The Raiders were just on Hard Knocks a couple of years ago. They wouldn't.
Okay, they weren't this year.
No, that was L.A. That was L.A. But obviously, it was caught on video, so there were some people there. Whether it was just shot on a phone or if there was an actual media presence.
No, there were people with huge like cameras.
Okay, so there was some form of media presence there potentially.
Yeah. Maybe media from the team, but if that's the case, then it should have been well regulated.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which leads, I would expect it's probably the local news. It's probably local Vegas news. Doing a story. So. They were probably doing a story about Darren Waller's charity event. Little did they know it would also become a story about potentially spreading a virus. Yeah, this is something that we absolutely have to monitor. Absolutely have a contingency plan for if you play fantasy and you have. If you have Raiders players and if you have Bills players, this is something to monitor. It's going to make things difficult for the NFL moving forward. If it's one thing, so I guess the one thing I'll say about the Titans, we don't 100% know how the outbreak started. We don't know if the Titans were just we're following protocol, practicing, going home, social distancing when possible, and it just happened, or if they did something irresponsible. With the Raiders, we know that they screwed up.
Now, what I heard was that it was one person who then came in contact with more people, and that again speaks to the virality of this COVID, man. I mean, it's
wildfire.
Yeah, and one person is all it takes.
Right, it's a ticking time bomb.
And in the NFL, they have these like wristwatches where they're watching where people are GPS location wise in relation to other people, so they know which players are in contact with which other players and which other staff. They know that information, and that's part of how they've narrowed it down to testing these 8 people, or testing this group of people. It ended up being there was 8 positives.
Yeah.
So there are measures in place to address this kind of thing, but it's gonna happen. It's a global pandemic.
Right. This is
gonna happen.
It's not right.
There's nothing we can do about this.
The other issue. About I think it was like week 2. Basically, there were reports that stadiums were trying to move toward increasing fan attendance. If that happens, again, it's only a matter of time. I'm concerned for the Chiefs, who are already allowing fans. We saw that with opening kickoff. I'm concerned about, I guess, the Jacksonville Jaguars, because Jacksonville is allowing fans into the stadium. And if more stadiums in cities continue to do this, it's only going to increase the chances that this happens again. Social distancing doesn't matter if it's a big building like a stadium is, there's still 15,000 people in there. Social distancing's out the window. That's just too many people.
Every sports league that's operating right now, that's operating at peak efficiency, is doing it in a bubble.
No fans.
And the ones that aren't
Yeah.
are paying for it.
Right.
And the NFL seems to want to remove itself from the bubble conversation like entirely. They don't even want to try to have like micro bubbles in different places. They don't even want to have bubbles just within the teams. I mean, why are they allowing fans in the stadiums at all?
That's the number one issue, and that's the number.
I don't understand that at all.
That's the number one thing they can control too.
They should be having They should be treating each stadium and each team as a micro bubble, and they should be mandating that NFL players not leave, and treat it like when players go away for training camp. I don't know about the Eagles. I know about the Bills. They would go away to a college and stay at a college throughout their whole training camp. Why wouldn't just the NFL just make players stay at their stadiums? Because a lot of stadiums have hotels right next to them. I
think it's harder.
I don't understand. I don't understand why they wouldn't microbubble. I really don't.
Are you talking about like for like the day before the game, or
no? Entirely.
Yes.
In the NFL, in the NBA playoffs, they were in a bubble and they were isolated, and the only contact they had was with the people that were in the bubble.
So
it's a war of attrition, and it sucks, but that's just part of life.
I think the problem with the NFL...
Same with the NHL. Keep going. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
I think the problem with the NFL is we're asking the players to do it for the entire season plus playoffs. You're talking about maybe like 6 months compared to 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 for the NBA and the NHL. So... Look, it's not that I disagree with the concept of the bubble, because it has clearly worked for the NBA and the NHL. They have had both zero issues with Corona. There was one issue with the NBA, and they immediately addressed it by kicking the player off the campus. With the NFL, you're asking them to do it for significantly longer, and so we're going to put them in. We're gonna do we put them all in the same hotel for 6 months? So, like, they're still sharing a building. I feel like the logistics for an entire season are too difficult for a bubble.
And that's probably why they haven't done anything like it. That's probably why they haven't. It's probably why they abandoned the whole idea entirely, is because it would take too much for them to do.
For the postseason, it would make sense.
Yes.
Then I would say, yeah, let's do it. Let's find a neutral site location, host the playoff games and the Super Bowl. And it's just gonna be a bubble environment this year. The media frenzy, the circus that is the Super Bowl, that can't all the festivities, all the parties, all the events, that can't happen this year. I know we're talking months down the road, but Corona's not going to be just gone by then. We're going to have to. This situation has to be It has to be taken, utmost care. And right now, it feels like the NFL is kind of falling short of that. Not as a whole, but it will amount to being as a whole, because they need to take action. If the teams and players, with the situation with the Raiders, are not being responsible.
So to switch gears, and I agree with 100% of what you said, but to switch gears and to view it through like a fantasy lens.
Sure, let's do that.
How does this affect Marlon Mack? No. No. Sorry, just add a little levity to the situation.
Little low-hanging fruit.
Really, how does this affect your lineup? How does this affect how you're approaching things? Are you just taking everything out of all of these players in question out of your lineup? Because, it would suck to have to pull Stephon Diggs, Darren Waller out of your lineup. Right. How do you approach this?
So, if the game is being played, then you have no choice. You're going to fire up your guys. If it comes down to a situation like I proposed, or I, hypothetically, presented, where maybe a Raiders player tests positive on Saturday, Now you're talking about the game. The game is in jeopardy because it's too unsafe. I would say in that scenario, I would expect the commissioner, like if I'm in a league, I expect there's going to have to be action taken to protect, keeping the matchups and the situation as fair as possible. If players are right up against their game time and they're in your lineup and the game is canceled, or players are pulled because of Corona, again, in that situation, the game is probably canceled. Managers should be allowed like backup players that they can designate to insert into their lineup. Maybe it's 105 on the East Coast, and a manager can't pull a player out of a postponed game, which was last minute. In these scenarios, just this year alone, I would say, like, in that situation, allow the commissioner to go in, override the starting lineup, put backup players in. Separate from, like, the actual game time decision, and you might be talking about 2-3 games that are postponed. This is difficult because players of postponed games are not designated for injured reserve. It's just treated like a bye week. So, to me, the response for fantasy is you got to expand the roster. That's just you're going to have to be able to expand the roster. I'm not talking a significant amount, but if you could, on any given week, you could easily have 2, if not 3 players in the same game. And in one quarterback leagues where you don't want to drop your quarterback, or in 2 quarterback leagues where you don't want to drop your quarterback, but maybe you need a backup. You need that 4th or 5th string. Like, you need to pick up Nick Mullins. You need to pick up, Nick Foles, whomever, Dwayne Haskins, whoever. Ryan Fitzpatrick, although Ryan Fitzpatrick is a trendy streamer this week, but I'm trying to talk about guys who are Sam Darnold, guys who are more likely available on the waiver wire.
Phillip Rivers, man,
yeah,
he's a guy that's probably not rostered.
You need to
in 1 QB leagues.
Yeah, to me, you have to present the opportunity for more flexibility for the managers this year, because we're talking about events and situations that can't be controlled, that are out of our hands. So yeah. I think it's okay to be more open to potentially having to shift things in season this year. You may have to make changes. You may have to expand the roster. You may have to add IR spots because.
If you're listening to this and you're not a commissioner, this is something you need to go and talk to your commissioner about.
Right. Yeah.
Because this is, just like the NFL is going to have to adapt, leagues and fantasy leagues are going to have to adapt to this whole situation too.
You have to.
And I think you got some great points there.
Thank you. You have to account for the fact that this is not this conversation isn't happening in a normal season, so you can't just. You can't treat the fantasy season as normal just because that's how it always is. If you are, that's not a league I want to play in. I mean, if you're playing for $15 with people who, maybe you're in a league with people who you don't really keep in touch with, but it's the one thing that kind of keeps you together. Look, I know multiple people who are in, leagues like that. And it's for, $10, $15, $20 maybe, or, it's not, whatever, however much money you're comfortable playing with fantasy. But if it's not a significant buy-in, but you kind of just want to be in the league, like maybe it's an annoying thing that you deal with. But if you're in a serious league and the commissioner is not privy to the idea of in-season action, that needs to change this year. Like you need to be able to make exceptions. And this is the year to do it. So be flexible. Look for your commissioner to make necessary changes that help the league and keep it fair. And try to do it with as much advance notice as possible. Obviously, we're talking about these are uncharted waters. This is uncharted territory. So be flexible. Be open. and support your league mates. Obviously, there's people are gonna there's always going to be disagreements about certain things, but there's going to have to be some sense of understanding this year when it comes to dealing with this situation, because as long as games are going to be played, fantasy is going to be played as well. So do as much as you can to maintain the fairness, but also maintaining the opportunity for managers to navigate these waters without having to cut players that they don't necessarily want to cut, especially in more serious leagues that involve keepers or dynasty.
I'm with you.
It's tough this year. It really sucks. It really is. I really hope this is the only time we have to do this. I really hope we don't have to do this next year. But
at least next year we'll know that will have been, and the world will have been, and the NFL will have been more adapted.
Slightly more prepared.
Well
yeah, that's the one thing. This is the first year where we're dealing with it. So, yeah, I would just keep an open mind, and hopefully we can just continue to enjoy playing this crazy, stupid game that we love. Because in this time we need it.
Yeah, I think we do.
And
that's why I'm still gonna be watching tonight's game.
Sure,
dude. In a regular season, I don't know if I'd be like, I'm gonna watch the whole game.
I could tune this out. In a regular season, this could be background noise because it's not that interesting.
No. This is still front and center for me.
Who do you think wins?
I am rooting for Adam Gase to lose.
Yeah,
I'm not hoping anybody wins. I'm rooting for Adam Gase to lose his job. I want him out because I have players on Jets teams that I want to be better, and I know they'll be better when he leaves.
I would be in support of Adam Gase leaving the NFL and making it more likely that an NFL team has an offense that is fantasy relevant.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I think we've touched on everything Corona related. Steelers, Titans, again, these players are not going to be put on IR. It's going to be treated as a bye week. So if you need the roster space, talk to your commissioners, but get them out of your lineup. This is treat it as an opportunity to see what other players can do. Maybe you drafted well. Maybe you got some guys on your bench who are like, I want to see this guy play, but now I can't get him in my lineup. Well, now you can. And if you didn't draft well and you're stuck on the waiver wire with some rough options, this is it's Thursday. Now's the time to seek trades. If you've trade turnaround in less than 24 hours and you're desperate, time to fire up the phone call. Make it happen. Talk. Start firing off texts. Do what you have to do. As the landscape adjusts, you got to adjust with it.
Yeah, and I would say that tune in to the next pod because we're going to be talking about start sits. So we're going to be talking about some guys that are probably on your wire that you can go out and get and start this week, and that we think you should have confidence in relative confidence in.
Absolutely, and with the Bills-Raiders game in mind as well, knowing that there's a not 0% chance that game could get postponed as well. So. But until then, we'll keep it locked. We'll keep you updated. We will keep our eyes on what is going on and what is happening, and bring you all the best news, analysis, and reaction to all of our favorite league, the NFL, so that we can play our favorite game, fantasy football.